Right, good morning everyone. Well, people, today we're going to do analytical geometry, and we're first going to revise the grade 11 work, and then we're going to do the grade 12, and then we'll do past paper questions on it. So we'll first do the theory, and then we're going to do past paper questions on the work. Right, the first thing that we need to look at, which is very important, is the characteristics of the different quadrilaterals. Now I'm just going to focus on the parallelogram and the rhombus, and we can look at the kite as well. Now people, the characteristics of a parallelogram is that the opposite sides are parallel. The opposite sides are equal, and the diagonals bisect each other, and the opposite angles are equal. If we look at the characteristics of a parallelogram and we compare it to the characteristics of a rhombus, what are the characteristics of a rhombus that make it different from a parallelogram? In a rhombus, all the sides are equal. The diagonals will bisect each other at 90 degrees. And the diagonals bisect the interior angles of the rhombus. So what are the characteristics that make it different? In a rhombus, all sides are equal. In this, opposite sides are equal. Here diagonals bisect each other. Here the diagonals bisect each other at 90 degrees. Here opposite angles are equal. Here the opposite angles are equal, but the diagonals also bisect the interior angles. So those are the characteristics that make it different. Right, we also know in a kite, people, the adjacent sides are equal, and the long diagonal bisects the short diagonal at 90 degrees. And so these are the characteristics that you need to know. Also, a square as well as a rectangle. Let's look at the grade 11 work, angle of inclination. Now people, I'm not going to go through the formulas for the gradient, the distance between 2 points, the coordinates of the midpoint. Everything is there. You just need to look at it. It's also on the formula sheet. Right, if we look at the following, we need to determine the angle alpha here. We need to determine that. So we know that the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the opposite interior angles, correct? So what do we need to do? To work out alpha, I need to work out theta. Theta is the angle of inclination. What's the angle of inclination? From the x-axis and anti-clockwise direction. From the x-axis and anti-clockwise direction will give you the inclination of AB. Now, the gradient of AB is equal to changing y over changing x, 3 minus 1 over 2 minus 4, which gives you 4 over 6, which is 2/3. Now we know angle of inclination, the tan of the angle is equal to the gradient. The gradient here is 2/3. So x is equal to 2/3 shift tan on your calculator, and you get 33,69, etc. Right, now we've got x. Now we need, in this case, theta. So theta, we can say, is the gradient of AC. The gradient of AC is 3 minus 2 over 2 minus 3. So it's equal to -5. Now people, we know that tan theta is equal to the gradient. Now I can solve for theta. But when we work out the reference angle, we're only going to use the positive number. So we're going to say +5 shift tan will give you the reference angle. And because the gradient is negative, it's 180 degrees minus the reference angle, so theta is equal to 101,309, etc. So here we can say that alpha, we know in this case that theta, or we know that alpha plus x is equal to theta. So alpha is equal to theta minus x, correct? The exterior angle of a triangle. So now I'm just going to substitute theta into the formula as well as x into the formula, and I've got alpha. Right, does it make sense? People, that's a quick revision on the angle of inclination, the grade 11 work. Let's look at circle center at the origin. Right. In this case, people, this is the grade 12 work. You need to know that the circle could be at the origin. And the formula for that is x squared plus y squared equal to r squared. I just need to find the value of r squared, then I've got the equation. I also know that the equation of a circle with center AB is given by the formula that x minus a to b squared plus y minus b to b squared is equal to r squared. This here is the formula for a circle with center AB. This here is the formula for the circle at the origin. Here I just need to work out the value of r squared. Here I need a, b, and r squared to be able to determine the formula. Does it make sense? Next. Right, in this case here, people, x here is equal to 1 squared plus y is equal to 3 squared is equal to r squared is equal to 10. So x squared plus y squared is equal to 10 is the equation of a circle at the origin. Now, the question here is, given the equation of the circle, find the center as well as the radius if the following equation is given. X squared minus 8x plus y squared minus 10y minus 59 is equal to 0. Right, I need your attention on this one. So people, the first step is we take the constant across. X squared minus 8x plus y squared minus 10y is equal to 59. Now I'm going to complete the square. So I keep the first two terms, x squared negative 8x, and I add half the coefficient of x. So half of negative 8 is negative 4 squared. So if I add 16 to the side, then I must add 16 to the other side, correct? Right, and this here becomes plus y squared minus 10y, add half the coefficient of y, half of negative 10 is negative 5 squared. I added 25 here, so I must add 25 to that side, correct? So if I find the equation here, it is x squared minus 8x plus 16, so it is x minus 4 to be squared, plus this here is y squared minus 10y plus 25, and that is equal to y minus 5 to be squared, correct? This here is equal to 100. So here we can say the center, right, is 4, 5. Opposite sign of this is the center. The radius squared is 100, so therefore the radius is equal to 10. Radius is not plus minus 10, radius is a distance, it can only be positive. Right, is that clear? Right. People, that is the theory for grade 12. Circle center at the origin, circle with center AB. The next one is the tangent to the circle. We're just going to do the theory of that, and then we're going to do past paper questions. It is very important that you know the difference between a parallelogram and a rhombus. What are the characteristics that make a rhombus different from a parallelogram? Please know that. Okay. Here they say to you, determine the equation of a tangent if the equation is given as right. If we can look at that We already worked out the center of this circle here. This equation is the same as that equation there. The center here is 4, 5. And the point of the tangent is 10, 3. Right. Not a very accurate drawing, but that is what we need to determine. The equation. We know the radius is perpendicular to a tangent. So in order for me to find the equation of the tangent, I'm first of all going to work out the gradient of the radius. And the gradient of the radius is changing y over changing x. So in this case, we can say it is 5 minus 3 is 2, and 4 minus 10 is equal to negative 6. So this here is equal to negative a third. No. 4, 5, and 10, 13. Not 10, 3, 10, 13. So here we can say it is 13, 5 minus 13, and that is going to give you negative 8 over negative 6, which is equal to 4 over 3, the gradient of the radius. Now we've got to find the gradient of the tangent, but the radius and the tangent are perpendicular, so the gradient of the tangent is opposite sign and the inverse, and we've got the point here, 10, 13. So here we can say that y minus y1 is equal to m bracket x minus x1. So y minus 13 is equal to negative 3 over 4, and that is x minus 10. So here we can say that y minus 13 is equal to negative 3 over 4x plus 30 over 4. So y is equal to negative 3 over 4x. This here, 4 can go into there, plus 13, that goes into there 7.5, plus 13, so y is equal to negative 3 over 4x plus 20.5. Right, people, are you with me? Right, so that's all the theory that you need to know, is that the radius is perpendicular to a tangent, and you need most of the time to work out the gradient of the radius before you can work out the gradient of a tangent, and you need a point on the tangent to be able to determine the equation. If we look at question 3, this year is the 2020, 2021. Let's have a look at it. Right. Right, people, E's coordinates is 12, 0, and it gets extended to H. The question says, in the diagram, A is negative 2, 10, B, K, K, C is equal to 4, negative 2. Of vertices of triangle ABC, line BC is produced to H and cuts the x-axis at E with coordinates 12, 0. AB and AC intersect the x-axis at F and G respectively. The angle of inclination of AB is equal to 81,87 degrees. Calculate the gradient of BE. Right, so people, in 3.1.1, we can say the gradient of BE is equal to the gradient of CE. Right, people, this here is a straight line. So 2 points on the straight line will be able to give me the gradient of BE. So in this case, we can say changing y over changing x, 0 minus 2 over 12 minus 4, which is 2 over 8, which is equal to a quarter. 3.1.2, here we got to determine the gradient of AB. Now people, the gradient of AB is the tan of the angle. So here we can say the gradient of AB is equal to the tan of 81,87 degrees, and that is equal to 7. Are you happy? Right, they say determine the equation of BE in that form. Right, people, now we got to determine the equation of BE. Now, in order for me to determine the equation of BE, the gradient of BE I've already determined. It's a quarter. I need a point on BE. You can use point C or point E. I haven't got the coordinates of B, so I cannot use B. So I can use any of these two. I'm going to use the point 12, 0. So we can say y is equal to mx plus c. You can then substitute your x and your y value and your m value and solve for c, and then you've got your equation. Or you can say y minus y1 is equal to m bracket x minus x1. So this is y minus 0 is equal to a quarter bracket x minus 12. So therefore y is equal to a quarter x minus 3. Right, is that clear? Right, for those of you, and I need to cater for the others that don't, if you do not use this equation, but you use y is equal to mx plus c, substitute the gradient, which is a quarter, the x value yum, which is 12, the y value is 0 plus c, so this yum is equal to 3 plus c, c is equal to negative 3, so you've got your gradient, you've got your y-intercept, so y is equal to a quarter x minus 3, whichever method you want to use. Calculate the coordinates of B, where k is less than 0. Okay, now people, you need to understand that they are leading you all the time. As soon as the examiner asks questions that are disjointed, they will throw it out on the national panel. If you are going to just at random ask certain things where there's no sequence or order to the questions and they're not leading you somewhere, the question is thrown out. So, here they asked you the gradient of BE. Here they asked you the gradient of AB. Here they asked you to find the equation of BE. I used 3.1.1 to determine the gradient, to read off the gradient and to determine the equation. If you look at 3.1, right, this is 3.2. Equation 3.3.1. Right. People, in this case, they say determine the coordinates of B. What have we determined? The equation of the line BE. Do you see? We've got the equation of the line BE. And if I substitute this point into the equation of the line, I can work out the values of K. So I'm going to use 3.2. So here we're going to say that y is equal to a quarter x minus 3, and we're going to substitute in the point B with coordinates kk. So k here is equal to a quarter times k minus 3. So therefore 1k minus a quarter k is 3 quarters k is equal to negative 3. People, are you with me? So to make k here, I'm going to times by 4 over 3 to give me k. So I times this side by 4 over 3, so it's equal to negative 4. K is equal to negative 4. They also tell me that k is less than 0. So it is correct. They find the coordinates of B. The coordinates of B is kk, but k is negative 4, so it's negative 4, negative 4. Right, are you with me? Right, then they say 3.3.2. They want the sides of angle A. Now people, let's quickly have a look here. The sides of angle A. If we get the inclination of this angle here, correct? If we find this angle here, and we can call it theta. So then we can say theta minus this angle gives me angle A. I've just done an example like that. So in this case, we can say right, we can say that the tan of theta is equal to the gradient of the gradient of AC. And the gradient of AC is equal to changing y with changing x. So it is 10 minus 2 over negative 2, negative 4, which is equal to, in this case, 8 over negative 6, which is negative 4 over 3. This here is equal to 12 over 6, which is equal to negative 2. Right, so people, because the gradient is negative, the angle of inclination is obtuse, correct? So therefore we can say theta is equal to 180 degrees minus the reference angle. The reference angle is shift tan of positive 2, and that gives you a value of 63,43 degrees. So theta is equal to 116,57 degrees. So here we can say that angle A plus 81,87 degrees is equal to this angle here, 116,57 degrees, the exterior angle of a triangle. So here we can say that angle A is equal to 116,57 degrees minus 81,87 degrees. So angle A is equal to 34,70 degrees. The next question, 3.3, determine the coordinates of the point of intersection of the diagonals of a parallelogram where ACES, where S is a point in the first quadrant. Now, ACES. Right, is that clear? That is a parallelogram. Now, they want A, C, E, S. S is a point somewhere there in the first quadrant. They want us to determine the point of intersection of the diagonals. So in this case, people, the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, correct? So the point of intersection is the midpoint of AE, correct? Are you with me? So here we can say in 3.3.3, A's coordinates here is equal to negative 210. And we know that E's coordinates is equal to 12, 0. So the midpoint of AE is equal to the midpoint formula. So it's equal to negative 2 plus 12 over 2, which is equal to 5. And this here is 10 plus 0 over 2, and that is equal to 5. So if they want you to determine S, or if they want you to determine the coordinates, the point of intersection of the diagonals, it's the midpoint, which is equal to 5, 5. Is that clear? Right, people, 3.4.